Captain Taman Park stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the stars. They seemed different now. Less friendly. His vessel, the Soul's Pride, moved slowly toward the massive structure floating in space. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The Galactic Council station looked like a small moon made of metal and light. Ambassador Hana Kim walked onto the bridge. She wore a formal suit, dark blue with Earth's symbol on the shoulder. Her face was calm, but Tae-min could see the worry in her eyes. They had practiced this moment for months, but nothing could prepare them for what was coming. "How long until we dock?" Hana asked. 20 minutes, Tae-min replied. "Are you ready?" Hana smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "No, but we're doing this anyway." Dr. Jiwoo Lee was already checking her equipment. She was humanity's best expert on alien languages. Her job was to make sure nothing got lost in translation. She looked up from her screen and nodded at Hana. "All systems working. I'll hear everything they say and translate in real time." The ship docked with a soft thump. 3 humans walked through corridors that seemed designed for creatures much larger than them. The walls glowed with strange colors. The air smelled like copper and flowers. Finally, they entered the council chamber. It was enormous. Hundreds of aliens sat in circular rows that went up and up until they disappeared in shadows. Some aliens were tall and thin. Others were short and wide. Some glowed. Some had too many arms. Some had no arms at all. But they all turned to look at the 3 humans standing alone on the central platform. A voice spoke, but it came from everywhere at once. It sounded like wind and music and thunder mixed together. Jiwoo's equipment translated instantly, and Hana heard the words through her earpiece. "Humans of Earth. We are the Galactic Council. We have governed this galaxy for 10,000 years. We bring order. We bring peace. We bring civilization to primitive worlds like yours." The voice belonged to Velmora, a being made of pure energy that floated above all the other aliens. It pulsed with different colors as it spoke. "You have discovered faster than light travel. This means you are ready to join galactic society. But joining requires following our laws, following our integration protocols." Hana stepped forward. Her voice was steady and clear. "We are honored to meet you. Earth is ready to learn from older civilizations. We hope to build friendships across the stars." Velmora's color shifted to something darker. "Friendship comes later. First comes integration. We will explain the terms." A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed numbers and charts that Jiwoo quickly translated. As Hana read them, her heart sank. The integration protocols demanded that Earth give 30% of everything it produced to the Council. Not just for a few years. For 500 years. Earth would also have to send 1 million people to serve in the Council's military. Earth's scientists would work on Council projects. Earth's resources would be shipped to Council worlds, and Earth would have no vote in Council decisions until the 500 years were finished. "This is not integration," Hana said carefully. "This is servitude." The chamber filled with sounds. Some aliens made clicking noises. Others hummed. Jiwoo translated. They were laughing. "It is tradition," Velmora said. "Every species pays this price. Every species benefits afterward. You will have peace. You will have protection. You will have trade. And if we refuse?" Hana asked. The laughter stopped. Silence filled the chamber like cold water. Then Velmora spoke again, and this time the voice was different. Harder, dangerous. "No species refuses." Another hologram appeared. It showed 12 different planets. On each one, cities burned. Ships exploded. People died. The images were horrific. "These species refused," Velmora explained. "Some we destroyed. Others we conquered. All of them suffered. Some no longer exist. We do not want this for Earth. We want you to be wise. We want you to accept." Hana felt sick. She looked at Taemin and Jiwoo. They looked back at her with the same expression. Horror. Anger. Fear. "We need time to discuss this with our leaders," Hana said. "This is a decision for all of humanity, not just for me." Velmora's colors flickered. "Time is a luxury. You have 72 hours. Return here with your answer. Accept the integration protocols or face the consequences. Choose wisely, humans." The meeting ended. The 3 humans walked back to their ship in silence. Nobody spoke until they were safely back on the Soul's Pride, and the engines were taking them away from the Council station. "Did that just happen?" Taemin asked quietly. Jiwoo was shaking. "I checked my translations 3 times, no errors. They really are demanding we become their slaves for 500 years. And if we say no, they'll destroy us. Hana sat down heavily in a chair. She had spent her whole career believing in diplomacy, believing that reasonable people could always find solutions. But the council wasn't reasonable. They were bullies with 10,000 years of practice. We need to go through those historical records they showed us, Hana said. I want to know everything about those 12 species who refused. Jiwoo worked through the night. When she called Hana and Taemin back to the research room, her face was pale. I found something. Something bad. Jiwoo pulled up files on the screen. I dug deeper into the council's public records. I looked at what happened to species who did accept the integration protocols. And, Taemin asked, they never got their freedom back. After 500 years, the council found new reasons to keep them under control. New laws, new requirements. The tribute system never ends. It's not integration. It's permanent conquest. They just dress it up with nice words. Hana felt something break inside her. Her hope for peaceful contact. Her dream of humanity joining a great galactic community. It was all a lie. The council didn't want partners. They wanted servants. The council has been doing this for 10,000 years, Jiwoo continued. They find new species. They give them this choice. Most species accept because they're afraid. The few who fight back get destroyed. But the ones who accept, they disappear slowly. Over centuries, the council absorbs them completely. Their cultures die. Their independence dies. Everything dies except their labor. Taemin clenched his fists. We have to tell Earth. We have 72 hours to give them an answer. Humanity needs to know what we're really choosing between. The soul's pride raced toward home. Behind them, the council station grew smaller in the distance. But the weight of the choice grew heavier with every passing mile. Submit and die slowly or resist and die quickly. Those were the only options the galaxy was offering humanity. As Earth appeared in the viewing window, blue and beautiful and fragile, Hana Kim wondered what answer her species would give. She wondered if humanity would survive either choice. She wondered if there was any hope at all, but deep in her heart she already knew the answer. She had studied human history. Humanity had faced impossible choices before, faced empires and tyrants and bullies who demanded submission, and humanity had a long history of giving the same response to those demands. The soul's pride entered Earth's atmosphere. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn what that response would be. The emergency meeting room was packed with people. Leaders from every nation sat around the large table. Military officers stood along the walls. Scientists watched from screens. Everyone had seen the recordings from the council station. Everyone knew what was at stake. General Sung Ho Choi stood at the head of the table. He was an old soldier with white hair and hard eyes. He had spent 50 years preparing Earth's defenses. Now he would finally learn if all that work had been worth it. Let me be clear, the general said. If we refuse the council's demands, they will attack us. Their fleet has thousands of ships. We have less than 200. They control thousands of worlds. We have one planet and a few colonies on Mars and the Moon. In a straight fight, we lose. A woman raised her hand. She was Director Yuna Bay from Earth Strategic Intelligence. She had spent years studying every piece of information about alien civilizations. But it won't be a straight fight, Yuna said. She pulled up images on the screens. I've analyzed the council's military tactics. They haven't fought a real war in 3,000 years. Every species either surrenders or gets crushed quickly. They have numbers, but they don't have experience fighting someone who fights back smart. What do you mean? Someone asked. Yuna smiled. It was not a nice smile. They rely on energy shields and plasma weapons. Very advanced. Very powerful. But we've been killing each other with kinetic weapons for centuries. Bullets, missiles, railguns. Our weapons are primitive by their standards. But their shields are designed to stop energy, not solid objects moving at high speed. General Choi nodded. We've tested this theory. One of our railgun rounds can punch through their shield technology. They've never faced weapons like ours because everyone else in the galaxy abandoned kinetic warfare thousands of years ago. Ambassador Hana Kim had been quiet until now. She spoke softly, but everyone listened. Are we really talking about war? About fighting the entire galaxy? Maybe we can negotiate better terms. Maybe we can... There are no better terms. The voice came from engineer Da In-shin. She was young, barely 30, but she was humanity's best weapons designer. She worked at the Secret Lunar Defense Initiative. I've read every treaty the Council has ever made. They don't. Negotiate. They dictate. Species who try to bargain get worse terms, not better ones. Dayun walked to the front of the room. She looked nervous but determined. I need to show you something. Something we've been building in secret for the past 10 years. We call it Project Ironwall. The screens changed. They showed hidden bases throughout the solar system. Weapon platforms on asteroids, ships disguised as mining vessels, missile silos on the dark side of the moon. Enough firepower to make any invasion costly. We've been preparing for hostile first contact since we developed FTL travel, General Choi explained. We hoped we'd never need it. But we're not naive. We knew the galaxy might not be friendly. Dayun pulled up another image. This one showed a sleek missile unlike anything else. This is a reckoning torpedo. It uses modified FTL technology. Most weapons have to travel through normal space where shields can stop them. But this missile can drop out of FTL inside a target. It bypasses shields completely. One torpedo can destroy a ship the size of a city. The room went quiet. Someone finally asked the question everyone was thinking. How many do we have? 47, Dayun said. One for each species in the Galactic Council. We've programmed them with the coordinates of their homeworlds. If they destroy Earth, these missiles will automatically launch and destroy their homes. Mutually assured destruction, Hana stood up, her face pale. You're talking about genocide. About killing billions of innocent people. No, Dayun said firmly. I'm talking about deterrence. About making sure they know we can hurt them just as badly as they can hurt us. Maybe then they won't attack at all. But if they do attack? Hana pressed. General Choi answered. Then we make them regret it. We can't win a long war. But we can win the first battle. We can make it so expensive for them that they'll think twice about continuing. And if they don't stop, if they try to exterminate us, then yes, we take their homeworlds with us. The president of Earth had been listening to everything. Now she spoke for the first time. Can we actually win this? Tell me honestly. General Choi met her eyes. No, Madam President, we cannot win. Not against the entire galaxy. But we can survive. We can make them respect us. We can show them that conquering humanity costs more than it's worth. And maybe, just maybe, we can inspire other species to stand up too. Yuna added, our intelligence suggests at least 6 council species are unhappy with their situation. They were conquered centuries ago. If they see humans fighting back successfully, they might rebel. The council could face a galactic civil war. That's a lot of maybes, the president said. Yes, General Choi agreed. But certain submission means certain death for humanity. Maybe fighting gives us a chance. The debate continued for hours. Some argued for acceptance. Humanity was so young, so small. Why throw everything away fighting an unwinnable war? Others argued that living as slaves for 500 years was worse than death. That humanity's spirit would die even if humans survived. Captain Taman Park finally spoke. He had been listening from the back of the room. I joined the space program to explore, to see new worlds, to meet new friends among the stars. I never wanted to be a soldier. But I've seen what the council really is. They're not friends. They're not civilization. They're just old bullies who've forgotten that someone might punch back, and I'd rather die fighting them than live serving them. His words settled over the room like snow, quiet, heavy, final. Ambassador Hana Kim closed her eyes. She had spent her whole life preparing for first contact. She had imagined 1,000 different scenarios, but never this, never having to choose between slavery and extinction. When she opened her eyes, tears ran down her face, but her voice was steady. We have to send our answer in 48 hours, she said. What should I tell them? The president looked around the room. She saw generals ready to fight, scientists ready to unleash terrible weapons, diplomats ready to deliver an impossible message. And she saw something else. She saw people who refused to bow. People who would rather stand and fall than kneel and survive. Tell them no, the president said. Tell them humanity does not surrender. Tell them we will fight for our freedom. And tell them that if they come to take it, they will pay a price they cannot imagine. General Choi nodded. I'll give the order. Project Ironwall becomes active immediately. All defense forces to battle stations. All torpedo platforms armed and ready. If they come, we'll be waiting. Taun looked at her screen showing the 47 reckoning torpedoes. She had built them hoping they would never be used. Now she prayed they would be enough. Hana Kim prepared to return to the council station. This time she would not be offering friendship. She would be delivering a declaration. A line drawn in the void of space. Humanity would stand on one side and the rest of the galaxy could choose which side they wanted to be on. The next 72 hours would change everything. Either humanity would earn its place among the stars through courage, or it would die defending its home. But it would not kneel. It would not submit. It would not surrender its future to bullies who had ruled the galaxy for too long. The die was cast. The choice was made. Now came the hard part. Now came the war. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Ambassador Hana Kim stood alone on the central platform, just as she had 72 hours ago. But everything felt different now. The air felt heavier. The light seemed dimmer. The hundreds of alien eyes watching her felt like physical weight. Velmora floated above, pulsing with colors that Jiwoo's translator said meant impatience and certainty. The Council had not expected to meet again. They had assumed humanity would accept the integration protocols like every other species in galactic history. Humans of Earth, Velmora said. 72 hours have passed. What is your answer? Hana Kim took a deep breath. She thought about her home, about blue skies and oceans, about billions of people trusting her to speak for them, about children who deserved to grow up free. She activated her communicator so her words would be broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. No. One word. Simple. Clear. Final. The council chamber erupted. Aliens made sounds of shock. Some stood up. Others flickered or changed colors or emitted smells that Jiwoo's equipment couldn't even translate. Velmora's energy form flashed bright red. You refuse? Velmora's voice was thunder. You understand what this means? We understand perfectly, Hana said. We will not be slaves. We will not submit to your tyranny. Humanity chooses freedom. Then humanity chooses extinction, Velmora declared. The enforcement fleet will teach you what happens to species who refuse the Council's wisdom. This meeting is over. Hana left the station knowing she might never see it again. As her shuttle flew back to the Soul's Pride, she watched the Council station shrink behind her. 300 warships were already gathering around it. The enforcement fleet. They would follow her home and make an example of humanity. She just hoped humanity was ready. Far beyond the orbit of Neptune, in the cold darkness of the Kuiper Belt, Commander Hyun Kang waited. His ship was a new design, something the Council had never seen before. It was small, fast, and completely invisible to their sensors. Dr. Mira O's quantum dampener technology made sure of that. Hyun's ship was called the Shadow. It carried only one weapon, one reckoning torpedo, but that would be enough. Sir, his sensor officer said. The enforcement fleet just entered the solar system. 300 ships just as intelligence predicted. They're maintaining formation and heading straight for Earth. Hyun nodded. Good, they think they're safe. They think we'll see them coming and surrender. They don't know we've been watching them since they left Council space. How long until they reach the Kuiper Belt? 2 hours, sir. Then we have 2 hours to get into position. Move us to intercept coordinates. Silent running. No emissions. We're ghosts. The shadow drifted through the asteroid field like smoke. Around them, hidden among the rocks and ice, were hundreds of other surprises. Mines, defense platforms, drone swarms. Humanity had turned its own solar system into a death trap. On Earth, General Sung-Ho Choi watched the displays in the command center. He saw the Council fleet approaching. He saw his own forces positioning themselves. This was the moment he had prepared for his entire career. The moment he had hoped would never come. All units report ready, an officer said. Hold fire, General Choi ordered. Let them get deep into the belt. Let them think we're not here. Then we spring the trap. The Council fleet moved forward confidently. They had done this before. Species who saw their ships usually surrendered immediately. Those who tried to fight were crushed within hours. The Council had overwhelming numbers and superior technology. This would be easy. Fleet Commander Zelkor, a being with 6 arms and crystalline skin, sat on his command throne feeling bored. Another primitive species. Another easy conquest. Perhaps they would be done in time for the celebration ceremonies back home. Then his entire flagship disappeared in a ball of fire. Commander Hyun Kang had fired the reckoning torpedo. It jumped through FTL space and materialized inside the flagship's bridge. The explosion came from within, where shields meant nothing. The largest ship in the Council fleet simply ceased to exist. All units. General Choi's voice rang through every human channel. Fire at will. Show them what humanity can do. The Kuiper Belt came alive with death. Mines hidden for years activated and slammed into Council ships at relativistic speeds, kinetic kill vehicles, just chunks of metal accelerated to absurd velocities, punched through shields that were never designed to stop solid matter. Railgun platforms opened up with storms of tungsten rounds. Drones swarmed like angry insects, each one a guided bomb. The Council fleet panicked. They had never fought an enemy like this. Energy weapons that they could easily handle were useless when the enemy used crude, simple, ancient weapons that their shields couldn't stop. Ships that were invisible to their sensors struck from the darkness. Traps were everywhere. A young woman named Subin Han piloted a civilian cargo hauler called the Morning Light. She had volunteered for combat even though she wasn't military. When the call went out for anyone willing to fight, she had answered without hesitation. Her ship was old and slow, but she had loaded it with every explosive she could find. Subin watched a Council carrier launch fighters. Those fighters would attack Earth's orbital stations where her parents lived. She made her decision in seconds. Her cargo hauler was doomed anyway, but maybe she could save others. Morning Light to command, she said calmly. I'm making a run at that carrier. Tell my family I love them? Negative, Morning Light? The controller shouted. You don't have weapons to... But Subin had already cut her engines and pointed her ship at the carrier. She burned all her fuel in one massive thrust. The Morning Light accelerated straight at the enemy ship. Council fighters tried to intercept her, but she was too fast, too committed, too fearless. The cargo hauler smashed into the carrier's landing bay and exploded. The entire carrier broke apart. Hundreds of Council fighters that would have attacked Earth died before they could launch. Subin Han's last act saved thousands of human lives. The battle raged for 4 hours. The Council's superior numbers meant nothing in the chaos of the asteroid field. Human forces struck from ambush, destroyed targets, and vanished before the Council could respond. Drone swarms overwhelmed point defense systems. Nuclear mines turned sections of space into fireballs. And always the railgun fire. Endless streams of metal moving at impossible speeds. When the Council fleet finally retreated, they had lost 67 ships. The humans had lost 23 vessels and 4,000 people. The casualty ratios shocked the galaxy. Back at the Council station, Velmora watched the battle recordings in disbelief. This was impossible. Humans were primitive. They had only just developed FTL travel. They should have been crushed instantly. Instead, they had won. How? Velmora asked the military commanders. How did they do this? A young Council member named Ziv, whose species had been conquered 800 years ago, spoke quietly. Because they know how to fight. Because they've been fighting each other for their entire history. Because they never forgot what war really means. They got lucky, one old Council member insisted. We send the full fleet, 10,000 ships. They cannot stop that. But Ziv saw something in the battle recordings that others missed. The humans had fought with creativity, courage, and complete disregard for their own safety. Subin Han's sacrifice had become a symbol. Within hours, her last words were being broadcast across the galaxy. Other subjugated species were watching. Other oppressed peoples were learning. Humanity had done something no species had done in 10,000 years. They had made the Galactic Council bleed. Before the Council could plan their next move, Earth broadcast a message to every world in the galaxy. It showed engineer Da Yun Shin standing in front of 46 reckoning torpedoes, each one programmed with coordinates to a Council homeworld. Da Yun's voice was steady. The Council asked for tribute. Here is humanity's tribute, peace or ashes. You have two choices. Leave us alone and we never touch these weapons, or attack us again and every Council homeworld burns. We die, you die. That is our promise. Velmora stared at the recording. They are bluffing. They would not dare. Would they not? Ziv asked. They just lost 4,000 people fighting 300 ships. They rammed cargo haulers into carriers. They fight like beings who have nothing to lose. I think they would absolutely keep that promise. For the first time in its 10,000-year existence, the Galactic Council faced a problem it could not solve with force. The humans were too weak to conquer the galaxy, but too strong to easily destroy. And now they had leverage. Dangerous, terrible leverage. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would happen next. Humanity had said no and survived. Now came the hard part. Now came the consequences. The Galactic Council was splitting apart. Half the members demanded immediate total war against humanity. The other half urged caution. And a few, like young Counselor Ziv, whispered dangerous questions in private meetings. Questions like, what if the humans are right? And what if we are the villains? Velmora called emergency session after emergency session, but no consensus could be reached. The council had ruled through fear and overwhelming force for 10 millennia. But now a species had fought back and survived. Worse, they had threatened to take council homeworlds with them if pushed too far. The normal tactics did not work anymore. Meanwhile, Captain Jinwoo Nam prepared for the most dangerous mission in human history. His ship, the Defiant, was loaded with stealth technology and humanity's best soldiers. Their target was deep in council space, the Tributary Archives, a massive data station that held records of every species the council had ever conquered. This is suicide, one of his officers said as they reviewed the mission plan. Jinwoo smiled grimly. Probably, but if we can get that data, if we can show the galaxy what the council has really done for 10,000 years, we might start a revolution. Worth dying for, I think. Back on Earth, a historian named Dae Hyun Cho made a discovery in humanity's old records. He studied fallen empires from Earth's history. Rome, the Mongols, the British Empire. All of them had followed the same pattern. They grew strong through conquest. Then they grew comfortable. They forgot how to fight. They became slow and bureaucratic. And eventually, hungrier powers destroyed them. The Galactic Council is following the exact same path, Dae Hyun told Ambassador Hana Kim over a video call. They haven't fought a real war in 3,000 years. They've grown soft. They rely on fear and numbers, but they've forgotten how to adapt, how to innovate, how to truly fight. Hana listened carefully. Since the battle, she had been communicating secretly with Counselor Ziv. The young alien was risking everything to share information about council weaknesses. A friendship had formed across the light years. A connection between two people who wanted to change the galaxy. Ziv sent me something, Hana told Dae-hyun. Historical records that most council members don't even know exist. Want to see what they show? She shared the files. Dae-hyun spent 3 days reading them. When he finished, he was pale and shaking. This is worse than we thought, he said. The integration protocols aren't just exploitation. They're designed to destroy species slowly. First, they drain resources until the species is economically dependent. Then they take the best and brightest minds for council projects. Then they slowly erase cultures and languages. After a few centuries, the conquered species doesn't remember it was ever free. They become part of the council willingly because they can't imagine anything else. Cultural genocide, Hana whispered. Over centuries. Exactly. And it's happened 47 times. 47 unique species reduced to just worker populations. Their art, their music, their stories all lost. The council isn't evil in the traditional sense. They genuinely believe they're bringing civilization. But they're destroying diversity in the name of unity. Jinwoo's mission launched in secrecy. The Defiant slipped past council patrol ships using the same stealth technology that Commander Hyun had used in the first battle. They traveled for 2 weeks through enemy territory, each day expecting to be discovered and killed. The Tributary Archives orbited a red giant star. It looked like a huge crystal sphere, beautiful and peaceful. Inside were the records of 10,000 years of conquest. Every broken promise, every destroyed culture, every species that died or disappeared. We go in fast, grab the data, get out faster, Jinwoo told his crew. If we get caught, we make sure the data transmits back to Earth even if we don't make it. Understood? They understood. Every person on that ship knew they might die. But they also knew that the truth was worth any price. The raid almost failed a dozen times. Council security was tight. Guards were everywhere. But humanity had spent centuries perfecting the art of breaking into places they shouldn't be. Hackers bypassed alien computer systems. Soldiers moved through corridors with practiced silence. And Jinwoo coordinated everything with the calm of someone who had already accepted death. They found the central data core. Terabytes of information. Centuries of crimes dressed up as civilization. One of the crew members, a young woman named Yonseo Go, couldn't stop crying as she downloaded files showing what happened to species who accepted integration. They're all gone, she whispered. Every single one. They survived as bodies, but their souls died. Their uniqueness died. The council turned them into copies of each other. Alarms started blaring. They had been discovered. Council security forces rushed toward the data center. Jinwoo made a decision. Get to the ship. I'll hold them here and make sure the transmission completes. Sir, you'll die, someone shouted. Then I'll die making sure the galaxy learns the truth. Go, that's an order. The crew ran. Jinwoo stayed behind with 3 volunteers. They held the corridor with railguns and determination. Council guards fell. But more kept coming. More and more. Too many to stop. The transmission completed. 11 terabytes of data burst toward Earth at faster than light speeds. Jinwoo saw the confirmation and smiled. Then an energy blast hit him and everything went dark. The Defiant escaped with 70% casualties. Captain Jinwoo Nam died in a corridor light years from home, buying time for truth to escape. His last act changed the galaxy. Earth received the data. Daehyun Cho worked with thousands of other historians to translate and organize it. What they found was worse than anyone imagined. The Council's crimes went back millennia. Species forced to work until they died out. Worlds stripped of resources until nothing remained. Cultures deliberately destroyed through re-education programs. Ambassador Hana Kim made the decision to broadcast it all. Every file, every record, every crime. The transmission went out on all frequencies to every world in the galaxy. The response was immediate. 17 subjugated species launched rebellions. They had been waiting for someone to go first. Humanity had shown them that the Council could bleed. Now they wanted their freedom too. 3 Council member species, those who had joined most recently and still remembered what freedom tasted like, voted to withdraw from the Council entirely. They announced they would form their own alliance. One based on mutual respect, not tribute and servitude. The galaxy fractured. The Council's military was stretched thin, trying to suppress rebellions. Their economy was collapsing as species refused to pay tribute. Their authority, built over 10,000 years, was crumbling in weeks. Velamora watched the Empire fall apart and felt something new. Fear. Real fear. Not fear of defeat in battle, but fear that everything the Council represented was wrong. That humanity's one-word response, that simple no, had been more powerful than 10,000 years of forced peace. Counselor Ziv contacted Ambassador Hana Kim directly. The Council wants to negotiate. They won't admit it publicly yet, but they're desperate. They need this to stop before everything collapses. Good, Hana said. Let them feel desperate for once. Let them understand what it's like to have no power. Then maybe we can talk about real peace. Not the peace of the powerful over the weak, but the peace of equals. General Sung-Ho Choi watched the reports of rebellions spreading across the galaxy. He felt sad for all the death, but also hopeful. Humanity had not just defended itself. It had started something bigger. A movement, a change. The galaxy would never be the same. Engineer Da-Yun Shin stood in front of her 46 remaining reckoning torpedoes. She prayed every day that she would never have to launch them. But she kept them ready just in case. Humanity had learned the hard way that the galaxy respected strength. Until real peace came, they needed to stay strong. Daehyun Cho published his analysis of the tributary archives. His report was simple and devastating. The Galactic Council has committed systematic cultural genocide against 47 species over 10,000 years. They are not a force for civilization. They are a force for conformity purchased through exploitation. The galaxy deserves better. Across 1,000 worlds, people read those words and agreed. The galaxy did deserve better, and maybe, just maybe, humanity had shown them how to get it. Not through submission, not through surrender, but through the courage to say one simple word to tyranny. No. The negotiation station floated in neutral space, built cooperatively by humans and reformed council species over 3 months. It was not as grand as the old council station, but it was different in a more important way. It was built by equals, not masters and servants. Ambassador Hana Kim arrived with a small delegation. She was older now, with gray streaks in her hair. The war, brief but brutal, had aged her. She carried the weight of 4,000 human dead and millions of aliens who died in the rebellions. But she also carried hope. Counselor Ziv greeted her at the airlock. They embraced like old friends, which they had become. On the other side of the airlock stood Counselor Tavis, an old hardliner who still believed the council had done nothing wrong. His species had been council members for 8,000 years. He remembered when they were the ones who said no to an even older empire. This is a waste of time, Tavis said immediately. The council's authority must be restored. Order must return. These rebellions must be crushed. The council's authority is gone, Hana replied calmly. You can't restore something built on lies. We're here to build something new, something better. They gathered in a conference room. Beings from dozens of species sat together. Some were council members seeking to reform, others represented newly free worlds. And sitting among them were humans, a species that had been spacefaring for less than a century, but had changed the galaxy forever. The negotiations were difficult. Tavus demanded that humans surrender their weapons and accept modified tribute terms. Reduced, he promised, but still tribute. Order required hierarchy, he argued. Someone had to lead. No, Hana said simply. She had become very good at saying that word. We're not negotiating how to restore the old system. We're negotiating what the new system looks like. And the new system is based on equality. Impossible, Tavas said. The galaxy is too large, too diverse. You need central authority to prevent chaos, to prevent war. Admiral Taemin Park, who had been promoted after the battle, leaned forward. For 10,000 years you created peace through fear. You prevented wars by threatening anyone who fought back. That's not real peace. That's just suppressed violence waiting to explode. And what is your alternative? Tavas challenged. Democracy? How do you create democracy across thousands of worlds with thousands of different cultures? One step at a time, Ziv answered. We start by ending the tribute system. We give every species full autonomy. We create a galactic assembly where each species has one vote, regardless of military power or economic strength. We make decisions through consensus, not force. And if species disagree, if conflicts arise, then we mediate, Hana said. We negotiate. We compromise, like civilized beings are supposed to do, not threaten and conquer. The debate continued for days. Tavas fought every change, clinging to the old ways. But more and more council members sided with reform. They had seen what happened when species said no. They had seen the rebellions. They had seen their entire civilization nearly collapse in weeks. The old way was dead. They needed something new or everything would fall apart. On the third day, a young human cadet named Kijun Park arrived with a special delegation. He was Subin Han's younger brother. He came to speak for the families of those who died defending Earth. My sister rammed her cargo ship into a council carrier, Kijun said quietly. She died to save others. She died because she believed freedom was worth any price. I'm here to make sure her death meant something. To make sure we build a galaxy where no one has to make that choice again. His words hit Tavas hard. The old counselor had lost his own sibling in a war 8,000 years ago. A war that had been forgotten in the long peace of the council. He had forgotten what it felt like to lose someone to violence, to have your family torn apart by war. You're asking us to trust each other, Tavas said slowly, after everything. After wars and rebellions and death. You want us to just trust that democracy will work? Yes, Hana said simply, because the alternative is more of what we just went through. More death, more suffering, more species ground down until they disappear. We can do better. We have to do better. A vote was called. The reformed council members voted to dissolve the Galactic Council and create the Galactic Assembly. By a narrow margin, the motion passed. The tribute system was abolished. Each species gained full autonomy. A democratic body would handle disputes and coordinate mutual defense. It was not unanimous. Several council species refused to accept the changes and withdrew from galactic politics entirely. Others promised to continue as they always had, just without the council name. But most species, especially the newly freed ones, embraced the new system with desperate hope. Ambassador Hana Kim was elected first speaker of the Galactic Assembly. She would serve a 5-year term, then another species would lead. Power would rotate to prevent any group from dominating. It was not perfect, but it was a start. General Sung-Ho Choi attended the memorial service for the 4,000 humans who died in the battle. He met Kijun Park there, standing at his sister's memorial marker. The young man had tears in his eyes, but also determination. She would be proud, General Choi said quietly. What we've built, what we've started. Your sister's sacrifice was not in vain. I know, Kijun said. That's why I'm joining the military, to protect what she died for, to make sure no one forgets why we said no. Engineer Da-un Shin stood in her workshop, dismantling the reckoning torpedoes. She kept two, just two. One was held by humans. The other was split between the Assembly's Security Council. The launch codes were divided among 3 species, including one that had been subjugated for centuries, a deterrent that required cooperation to use. Hopefully it would never be needed. The galaxy slowly transformed. It was messy and complicated and frustrating. Species disagreed constantly. Some conflicts escalated to small wars before mediation could resolve them. The Galactic Assembly was criticized as weak and inefficient. But it was better than the alternative. It was better than the Council. 5 years after the Battle of the Kuiper Belt, humanity launched its first colony ship to a distant world. The ship, named the New Hope, carried 50,000 people. Among them was Ki-Jun Park, now a decorated officer, carrying his sister's ashes to scatter on a new world under foreign stars. Admiral Taemin Park commanded a new ship called the Unity. It was built cooperatively by 12 species, a symbol of what the galaxy could become. His crew was diverse. Humans worked alongside aliens who had been enemies a decade ago. They explored unknown regions not to conquer but to discover. Ambassador Hana Kim, now elderly but still sharp, stood in the assembly chambers with Counselor Ziv, her closest friend. They watched a debate about trade regulations between two species who were learning to compromise instead of fighting. It was boring and bureaucratic and beautiful. "Do you think it will last?" Ziv asked. Hana smiled. "No system lasts forever. But this one is better than what came before. And when it eventually fails, I hope the next thing we build will be even better." That's progress. That's civilization. News reached the assembly of another empire discovered in a distant spiral arm. They were powerful and aggressive, possibly worse than the Council had been. There was talk of sending diplomats, of attempting peaceful contact. "And if they demand we submit?" a young assembly member asked nervously. "If they threaten us?" Hana Kim's answer was immediate, and everyone in the chamber understood. "Then we will give them the same answer humanity gave the Council. And we will stand together this time, all of us, because we've learned what happens when you let bullies rule the galaxy." The assembly member nodded, satisfied. The galaxy had changed. Species who had been conquered and oppressed for millennia now stood as equals. They had learned courage from the youngest species among them. From the humans who looked at an impossible situation and said one simple word. On Earth, they built a monument to Subin Han and the other 4,000 who died in humanity's first battle for freedom. The inscription was simple. They said no so the galaxy could say yes to something better. Children played around the monument, not understanding yet what it meant. But they would learn. Every human child learned about the day Earth faced the Galactic Council, about the choice between submission and resistance, about the courage to stand up even when victory seemed impossible. And across the galaxy on thousands of worlds, other species told the same story to their children. About the young species that refused to kneel. About the battle that started a revolution. About one word that changed everything. No, it was a simple word, but it had power. The power to reject injustice. The power to demand better. The power to inspire others. Humanity had brought many things to the galactic community. Technology and art and culture and courage. But the greatest gift was teaching the galaxy that sometimes the most important thing you can say to tyranny is no. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still conflicts and problems and injustices. But it was better. And it would keep getting better because billions of beings had learned from humanity's example. They had learned to question authority, to demand freedom, to stand together against oppression. Admiral Taemin's ship, the Unity, jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared into the unknown. Somewhere out there were new worlds to discover, new species to meet, new challenges to face. But humanity would face them not as conquerors or servants, but as free beings among equals. The future was uncertain. The galaxy was dangerous. But for the first time in 10,000 years, it was also full of hope. And that hope had started with one word, the word that terrified the Galactic Council. The word that freed the galaxy, no.